Mike Tyson is 58 years old now. He's sober, he's at peace, he's worth an estimated $10 million through his cannabis company, podcasts, and acting. He lives modestly in a home in Las Vegas with his wife Lakeha. No mansions, no exotic car collections, no Bengal tigers, no entourage of 200 people, just stability, family, purpose. But when you ask Mike how he got here, he doesn't start with success. He starts with the 11th of June 2005, the night he quit on his stool against Kevin McBride. The night he retired from boxing at 39 years old, broke, addicted to cocaine, and suicidal. That was rock bottom. Mike has said, "I'd lost everything, my career, my money, my dignity. I was using cocaine every day. I was drinking. I wanted to die. I had no reason to live." From June 2005 to late 2008, Mike spiraled. The cocaine addiction got worse. He was spending over $1,000 a day on drugs. He was depressed. He had suicidal thoughts constantly. He had no income. He was living in a friend's house, and he couldn't see a way out. "I hit a point where I didn't want to be Mike Tyson anymore," Mike has said. "I was tired, I was broken, and I wanted it to end. But it didn't end. Somehow, through therapy, through spiritual awakening, through the love of the woman who would become his wife, Mike found a reason to keep going. And over the next 15 years, Mike rebuilt his life from nothing. What happens when a man loses everything and decides to start over? What happens when rock bottom becomes the foundation for something better? The answer is written in every sober day Mike has lived since 2009, and in the man he's become at 58 years old. Before the redemption, before the rock bottom, Mike Tyson was a kid from Brownsville, Brooklyn, who'd been saved by Kuz D'Amato at age 13. By that age, Mike had been arrested over 30 times for robbery, assault, and petty theft. He was running with street gangs, stealing from stores, fighting anyone who looked at him wrong. He was heading for prison or death on the streets. Everyone in Brownsville knew it, but Kuz saw potential beneath the rage. He took Mike to Catskill, New York, became his legal guardian, and trained him in the peak Abu style. Kuz promised Mike he'd be the youngest heavyweight champion in history. On the 22nd of November 1986, at 20 years old, Mike fulfilled that promise. By 1988, Mike was the most dominant heavyweight in the world, earning tens of millions per fight. But after Kuz died in November 1985, Mike became vulnerable. He married Robin Givens in 1988, a toxic marriage that destroyed him. He fired Kevin Rooney in December 1988, losing Kuz's discipline. He lost to Buster Douglas in February 1990. He went to prison from 1992 to 1995. He bit Evander Holyfield's ear in 1997. He lost to Lennox Lewis in 2002, and in August 2003, he filed for bankruptcy despite earning over $300 million. By 2005, Mike was a shell of who he'd been. On the 11th of June 2005, Mike fought Kevin McBride in Washington, D.C. The purse was $5 million. Mike needed the money desperately, but after 6 rounds, Mike quit on his stool. He told his corner, "I don't have it anymore." He retired that night. And for the first time in his life, Mike Tyson had no purpose, no identity, no income, and no hope. From June 2005 to late 2008, Mike Tyson lived in hell. He was addicted to cocaine. By his own admission, he was using every day, sometimes multiple times a day. He was spending over $1,000 a day on drugs. He was also drinking heavily, and the depression was crushing. "I wanted to die," Mike has said. "I would wake up every morning and think, why am I still here? I had no money, no career, no purpose. I was just existing. And I didn't want to exist anymore." Mike had suicidal thoughts constantly. He contemplated ending his life multiple times. Friends would find him passed out. Family members tried interventions. But Mike kept using. He was living in a friend's house in Phoenix, Arizona. He had no income. He'd lost everything in bankruptcy. And he was isolated. The entourage was gone. The hangers-on were gone. It was just Mike, alone with his addiction and his demons. "Those were the darkest years of my life," Mike has said. "Darker than prison, darker than losing to Douglas, because in prison, I had hope that I'd get out and rebuild. But in 2005, 2006, 2007, I had no hope. I thought this was it. This is how Mike Tyson ends. Broke, addicted, alone. In late 2007, Mike woke up on a bathroom floor after being unconscious for nearly 2 days. He couldn't remember how he got there. His nose was bleeding. And for a moment, he wasn't sure if he wanted to get up. But something kept Mike alive. Maybe it was his children. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was a small voice inside telling him there was still something worth living for. Whatever it was, Mike kept going. Barely. In late 2008, something shifted. Mike doesn't describe it as a single moment. He describes it as a slow realization that he couldn't keep living the way he was living. He started going to therapy. Real therapy. Not just talking, but facing the trauma from his childhood. The abuse in Brownsville. The abandonment. The violence. He started dealing with the grief of losing Cus D'Amato. The anger at Don King for stealing from him. The shame of the bankruptcy. And the ear bite. And he started exploring spirituality. Mike began experimenting with psychedelics, specifically 5-MeO-DMT, also known as toad venom. He credits these experiences with helping him confront his demons in a way traditional therapy couldn't. The toad opened my mind. Mike has said, "It showed me that I didn't have to be the person I was, that I could change, that I could let go of the anger and the shame and the pain." By early 2009, Mike had made a decision. He was going to get sober. He was going to rebuild his life. And he was going to marry Lakeha Spicer, a woman he'd known since she was a teenager and had reconnected with during his darkest period. Lakeha, known as Kiki, had seen Mike at his absolute worst. And she loved him anyway. She didn't care about the money or the fame, she just loved him. "Kiki saved my life," Mike has said. "She gave me a reason to get better. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." On the 6th of June 2009, Mike married Lakeha in a small private ceremony in Las Vegas. It was Mike's third marriage. But this time, it was different. This time, Mike was committed to being a better man, a better husband, a better father. In 2009, Mike got a call that would change his trajectory. Director Todd Phillips wanted Mike to appear in a movie called The Hangover. Mike would play himself in a cameo. The scene involved Mike punching Ed Helms in the face and singing Phil Collins's "In the Air Tonight." Mike almost turned it down. He was embarrassed, ashamed. He didn't think people wanted to see him anymore, but Lakeha convinced him to do it. Mike shot the scene in one day. He got paid $100,000. The movie was released in June 2009, and it became one of the biggest comedies of all time, grossing over $467 million worldwide. Mike's cameo was one of the most talked about moments in the film. Suddenly, Mike Tyson was culturally relevant again, not as a fighter, but as someone who could laugh at himself, someone who was human, someone people could relate to. The Hangover opened doors. Mike started getting offers for appearances, interviews, and small acting roles. And Mike started saying yes. He appeared in The Hangover Part 2 in 2011. He did commercials. He made appearances on talk shows. And people were surprised. Mike was funny. Mike was thoughtful. Mike was honest about his past. He wasn't trying to be Iron Mike anymore. He was just trying to be Mike. And people responded to that authenticity. For the first time in years, Mike had income, not millions, but enough to support his modest lifestyle and start rebuilding. In 2012, Mike took his biggest risk yet. He agreed to do a one-man show on Broadway. The show was called Undisputed Truth, directed by Spike Lee. For 90 minutes, Mike stood on stage at the Longacre Theatre and told his life story. The good, the bad, the ugly. He talked about Cus D'Amato saving him from the streets, about becoming the youngest champion, about prison, about the ear bite, about the bankruptcy, about the addiction. It was raw, it was emotional, and it was brutally honest. The show sold out. Critics praised Mike's vulnerability. And Mike found something he hadn't felt in years: catharsis. That show was therapy, Mike has said, standing on stage and admitting everything I'd done wrong, owning my mistakes. It freed me. I cried on stage, the audience cried with me, and I realized I wasn't alone anymore. Around the same time, Mike launched a podcast called Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson. The show featured Mike interviewing guests while smoking cannabis and talking about life, philosophy, sports, and everything in between. The podcast became a massive hit. Millions of listeners tuned in to hear Mike's wisdom and vulnerability. Guests included everyone from Eminem to Evander Holyfield to scientists, philosophers, and comedians. Mike wasn't just a former boxer anymore. He was a thinker, a philosopher, someone with wisdom to share, and people wanted to hear what he had to say. The podcast also became a significant revenue stream: sponsorships, ad deals, merchandise. It wasn't tens of millions, but it was sustainable income that allowed Mike to keep building his new life. In 2016, Mike launched Tyson 2, a cannabis company. Mike had been a vocal advocate for the medicinal benefits of cannabis for years. He'd used it to help with his sobriety, his mental health, and his trauma, and he saw an opportunity to build a legitimate business around something he believed in. Tyson 2 produces cannabis flower, edibles, vape products, and other cannabis-related items. The company operates in multiple states where cannabis is legal, and it's grown steadily. Today, Tyson 2 is worth millions. For Mike, it's more than just business. It's a way to give back and advocate for something that saved his life. Cannabis helped me get off cocaine, Mike has said. It helped me deal with my childhood trauma. It helped me sleep. It helped me find peace. And now I get to help other people with it. In November 2020, Mike made another comeback, but not to professional boxing, to exhibition fighting. At 54 years old, Mike fought an 8-round exhibition against Roy Jones Jr., another boxing legend. The fight was broadcast on pay-per-view and generated over $80 million in revenue. Mike looked good. Not prime Mike, but fast, powerful, disciplined. It was a reminder that Mike still had something left, but more importantly, it showed that it's never too late to try something new, to challenge yourself, to prove to yourself that you still can. That exhibition was for me, Mike has said, to prove to myself that I still could, that I wasn't done, and it felt good, really good. Mike Tyson is 58 years old now. He's been sober for over 15 years. No cocaine, no alcohol, just cannabis for wellness. He's married to Lakeha, and they have 2 children together. He's at peace with his past. He talks openly about his mistakes. He doesn't hide from them. He owns them. He honors Cus D'Amato constantly. Every interview, every podcast. He talks about what Cus taught him, what Cus meant to him, and how he wishes Cus could see the man he's become. He's learned financial discipline. He lives modestly. He saves. He invests carefully. He's worth an estimated $10 million. Not the $300 million he should have, but it's his, and he built it clean, without Don King, without leeches, with hard work and discipline. Mike continues to work. He has his podcast, his cannabis company, acting roles, appearances, and he gives back. He supports programs for at-risk youth. He talks about mental health and addiction openly, hoping his story helps others. He's become an elder statesman of boxing, not because of his record, but because of his wisdom. This version of Mike is who Cus wanted me to be, Mike has said. Disciplined, honest, at peace, humble. It took me 40 years and losing everything to get here, but I finally understand what Cus was trying to teach me. That greatness isn't about winning, it's about who you become, and I've become someone I'm proud of. The 11th of June 2005, the night Mike quit on his stool against Kevin McBride. Rock bottom, cocaine addiction, suicidal thoughts, no hope. From there, Mike spiraled for 3 years into darkness. But in 2009, Mike found a reason to change. Therapy, sobriety, Lakeha, The Hangover cameo, Broadway, the podcast, Tyson 2, the Roy Jones exhibition. And today, at 58, Mike Tyson is living proof that redemption is possible, that you can lose everything and rebuild. That rock bottom can be the foundation for something better. Mike's legacy isn't just the youngest heavyweight champion. It isn't just the 91-second destruction of Michael Spinks. It's the comeback from absolute darkness to light. It's the transformation from broken addict to sober, peaceful, wise elder. The question people ask is simple. How did Mike do it? The answer is equally simple. One day at a time. One choice at a time. Therapy, sobriety, humility, hard work, and refusing to give up even when he wanted to die. I could have died in 2008, Mike says. I should have died, but something kept me going. Maybe it was my kids. Maybe it was Kiki. Maybe it was Cuss watching over me. I don't know, but I'm grateful. Because this life, the one I have now, is better than anything I had when I was champion. I'm at peace, and that's worth more than any belt. Here's the final question. Is Mike Tyson's redemption story more inspiring than his boxing career? The answer might be yes. Because anyone can be born with talent. But rebuilding yourself from nothing, that takes something more. That takes courage. And at 58 years old, Mike Tyson has proven he has more courage now than he ever had in the ring.